And well. Welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Wa2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. Reminder, if you're brand new, welcome aboard. Please like and subscribe. If you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate all the support. So let's get into the New York Mets and the trade deadline. Now, as I'm recording, it is July 25th. We are just 6 days away from the deadline. And up until this about 24 hours ago, there really hadn't been any movement whatsoever. I had a video ready to go. I do my day at work. I go get a workout in, a pretty crazy workout, 8 miles on the treadmill, which was not easy, but got through it. And I come home, clean up, ready to do the video, only to find out that the Mets traded for Gregory Soto, and I basically had to revamp my whole video. It's just the way sports happens sometimes. You just never know what's going to happen. But we're still going to get into this. We'll talk about Gregory Soto, what he brings to this bullpen, and who else the Mets can get, because David Stearns has made it clear in his press conferences that the Mets' number one priority is reinforcing a very beat-up bullpen. So we had our first trade yesterday. Josh and Naylor going to Seattle to help a lineup that really needs it. And then the Mets make this move. Now, and also the Yankees did trade for Ryan McMahon, getting a third baseman they sorely needed. Now, the Mets have their needs. Now, some of them are needs that are very common among pretty much every contender, and some are very unique. For instance, not every team needs a center fielder. Some people would tell you, well, let Jeff McNeil play center field, then you could bring in Tyrone Taylor for defense. You know what? You could do that. It's not an ideal solution, but you probably could get away with it if you really want to. Some people think that the Mets need a third baseman. I do not believe that at all. I want to ride it with these kids. You could play McNeil there. You could play Beatty there. You could play Mauricio there. I would rather not play Mark Vientos there. I would just install him as the DH and let him go. The big name is Eugenio Suarez, and I was expecting the Yankees would go get him, but now that they have McMahon, that's not going to happen. And I've seen various reports that the Mets are just not looking at Suarez. And to be honest with you, I just don't think he is the fit that they need. You know, if the Mets get a bat, I'm looking for more of a contact hitter, somebody who can get on base to help an everyday lineup that has nobody hitting above 270 right now. Okay. But every team is looking for bullpen help. And because every team is looking for bullpen help, you typically are going to pay a premium for the best names. And with so many Mets relievers injured, think about it. AJ Minter out for the year. Dednail Nunez out for the year. Max Kranick out for the year. Jose Butto has dealt with illnesses. You know, Edwin Diaz has been about the only really great, reliable pitcher in that bullpen. A number have shown glimpses of being very good, then they fall off. Look at Reed Garrett. The first 2 months, people were talking about him going to the All-Star game. Okay, he had an ERA under 1, and last 2 months hasn't quite been so good. Ryan Stanek is very up or down, and that's pretty much what it's been. Oscar Brazaban, very up and down as well. And it seems every day there's a new Met coming into the bullpen and somebody either being designated for assignment or getting sent back to the minors. So you need some reliable arms in that pen. And this bullpen, by the way, they actually led Major League Baseball in ERA through the month of May. Okay, and then since June 1st, the bullpen has posted a 4.52 ERA, 23rd in baseball. Now, come playoff time, to me, what you do is you move Clay Holmes to the bullpen. Look, I have been tough on Clay Holmes. I mean, I like him, but as he's a 5-inning starter. He is what he is. And that's fine if you have a couple of other starters who typically go 7 innings or even 8 innings, dare I say. But that's not what the Mets have. So to me, when the time comes down the road, Holmes needs to go to the bullpen. And then you have a rotation of Kodai Senga, Sean Manaea, David Peterson. Then you can use maybe, say, a Frankie Montas as your 4th starter, and I can roll with that. But that's still two months away. All right. And it's a very stacked National League. A lot of teams in contention, very bunched up towards the top. You know, you could make an argument for easily 6 or 7 teams winning the NL pennant. And so the Mets made a move today, acquiring Gregory Soto from the Baltimore Orioles, a very hard-throwing left-handed reliever, formerly of the Tigers, the Phillies, and the Orioles. And in return, they sent Class A pitcher Wellington Aracena and Double-A right-hander Cameron Foster back to the Orioles, a franchise really in need of pitching help. Now, Soto is 30 years old. was an all-star in both 2021 and 2022 with the Tigers. This year, 45 appearances in Baltimore, has a 3.96 ERA, a 1.29 whip, and a 27.5 strikeout rate. So he can get a big strikeout when he needs to, but ever since the Mets lost A.J. Minter, they have really been lacking on help. Also, Danny Young, another lefty out for the year. And it was great to see Brooks really come back from Tommy John surgery, but when these guys are coming back from TJ, you never really know just how hard you can push them. There might be innings limits, things like that. So Soto does give them a good bullpen arm over there. And let's be honest, Aracena and Cameron Foster, they're not exactly towards the top of the Mets prospect ratings. I mean, I barely even heard of these guys. They're in nobody's top 30 or even top 40. So for basically very, very little, you bring in a good veteran left-handed arm into this bullpen. So I give David Stearns and the New York Mets front office credit. And so now, where do the Mets go from here? I still think they're getting another bullpen arm. I think they need another bullpen arm, especially with 9 games coming up, with San Francisco, San Diego, and San Francisco again. Still a lot of games against, Philadelphia. They still have to see the Braves. I know the Braves are done, almost done, but they're always going to battle the Mets. So Mets still have a pretty tough schedule coming up. They need to reinforce that pen. So I'm going to roll through a couple of names here that I think could possibly be available. Some guys I had in mind, and I'm going to rank these pretty much from least desirable to most desirable. And I think I'm going to give you it's going to be about 9 names. I'm going to give you 8 or 9 names. And one of them I just had to drop recently is also a Baltimore Oriole, and it's Felix Bautista. 30 years old, just like Gregory Soto, coming off Tommy John surgery, had a pretty good season for the O's, but in the last week, he has shoulder discomfort and is getting an MRI. Now, he had a 2.60 ERA, 19 saves, under control for 2 years, and when you get that extra control for future seasons, it does cost more. So the fact that he's hurt, I'm putting him on the back burner, but remember this with the Mets. Edwin Diaz has an opt-out at the end of the season. And as good as he's been, he's going to exercise that opt-out. So I am really looking for an arm that I could control for at least another season or 2. Another one I would mention is Kyle Finnegan from Washington. I don't think he's going to cost much. 33 years old, good steady arm, but not going to give you any, huge swing and miss stuff. He's not going to pop you. But he had 38 saves last year, 3.68 ERA, named to the All-Star team. This year, not so great. 1.32 whip, walks and hits divided by inning pitched. His ERA is 5.62. He gave up, as of late, not so good. 3 earned runs to Milwaukee on July 12th, gave up 5 earned runs to the Padres on July 18th, 2 more to the Reds on July 21st. So not great swing and miss stuff, but he won't cost you much. And if you want to plug him in, put him towards the back of the bullpen, see if he can work his way up, I give it a shot. Carlos Estevez from Kansas City. Now, I know the Mets have beaten up on him in the playoffs and even as of late, but he's under contract through 2027, currently with the Kansas City Royals. Before the Mets played the Royals, Estevez had an ERA of 2.05. Mets beat up on him a little bit. He hasn't been as good over the last month. The ERA is now at 2.74, still very good. A 1.14 whip, 26 saves is right up there with the league high in 2025. Now, here's a name that the Mets have been linked with as of late. It's griffinjax from Minnesota. I think Minnesota is going to trade off some players. They're 10 games out of first place in the division. I've seen ESPN link up the Mets and griffinjax. He's 30 years old, arbitration eligible for 2 years, has very good control, which would be a welcome change to a bullpen that is notorious for walking opposing batters. Jax this year has a 4.09 ERA in 47 appearances. The whip is pretty good, 1.22. That's not bad. If it gets to 1.5, you're starting to play with fire a little bit. 1.0 is really good. His career best ERA was last year, 2.03 in 72 appearances. So he was a workhorse. And we know David Stearns loves relief pitchers who recently had a very good season, then aren't quite following it up with the same level of dominance, with the same performance level. So I could see Jax making sense for the Mets as another low-cost reliever. Ryan Helsley from St. Louis, another 30-year-old. Now, the Cardinals got to ask themselves if they want to fight in a very crowded National League wildcard race or lean into a short rebuild. They're not that far out of the wild card race, but they got a lot of teams that they got to battle who, to be honest, are just better than them. And I think one thing they could do is trade Ryan Helsley. Last year, 2.04 ERA, 49 saves, highest in the league. This year, 3.09 ERA, a 1.40 whip. I don't know if he's getting traded, but I would be inquiring with St. Louis. Remember, Chaim Bloom is going to be heading up their front office starting next season. So maybe St. Louis strips down their roster now to get it ready for Bloom, give them some more assets to work with. Another lefty I'm going to go, and I'm a little bit less likely that the Mets are going to get another lefty, but I'm still going to mention Aroldis Chapman, the best lefty option on the market. He is 37 years old, but he's still throwing that fastball 99 miles an hour for the Red Sox. He's striking out 13.4 batters per 9 innings, 60 strikeouts in 40 innings, plus his command even now is getting even better. He is walking 2.2 batters per 9 innings. That is the best mark he's had in his whole career. That's right. He's been in the majors since 2010, 15 years, and this is the best command he has ever shown. 1.34 ERA, 0.76 whip, and of course, can't forget, he's been traded midseason to 2 different teams that won the World Series. And in the playoffs, he's been very good. We think about him giving up some big home runs, Jose Altuve, things like that. But his playoff ERA is 2.37 with a 1.5 whip. I don't think it's likely the Mets would go get Chapman, but I'm still keeping it in mind. Now, a big name and a name that would be really interesting is emmanuelclase from Cleveland. What a 1-2 punch this would give the Mets. 27 years old. Cleveland has a better record than only, I think, 3 AL teams last I checked, but he was the best reliever in baseball last year. He's led MLB in saves for 3 straight years. This year, his numbers have been okay, 2.74 ERA, 1.19 whip, 23 saves, very, very low contract. He's making under $5 million this year, 4.9. Next year, makes $6.4 million. Then he has 2 club options for $10 million each. You're going to have to put together a big package. Now you're starting to talk about putting in some of your best prospects. A Jet Williams, a Jonah Tong, a Brandon Sproat, Nolan McLean. It's going to take a top prospect to bring Clase over, okay? But again, with Diaz possibly having the option to leave, you really need that insurance policy. And then comes David Bednar, again, 30 years old with Pittsburgh. I fully expect the Pirates to move him. He's got 1 more year of control after this, was an all-star in 2022 and 2023. Now, last year, he was terrible, 5.77 ERA. This year, he had a terrible start as well. He was basically the Devin Williams of the National League, okay, to the point where he had to get sent down to the minor leagues. Now he's been dominant. He is on a streak of 21 straight games without allowing an earned run. Overall, ERA for the year, 2.31, 1.11 whip, 15 saves. He has career best right now of 12.34 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.57 walks per 9 innings, and allowing just 0.5 home runs per 9 innings. So he has been sick good the last 2 months. So David Bednar, I think, would be a very, very interesting signing. And one other guy I'm going to mention that's also a Pirate is Dennis Santana. He is the setup man for David Bednar. Now, if the name sounds familiar, believe it or not, he was actually a Met in 2023 for a cup of coffee. Okay, but this year he's got a 1.49 ERA. That's second best among NL pitchers with at least 40 innings pitched. And if you want to go into peripherals, his slider has been amazing. The National League is slugging, not batting average, slugging, just 143 against it, and has one of the best chase rates. So that slider is absolute swing and miss stuff. So again, I'm very glad that the Mets got Soto. We'll see what he is. Again, I don't expect him to come in here and be Josh Hader, but I expect him to be an upgrade over, say, the Castillo or whoever the latest scrub is that they brought in, right? So I am looking forward to seeing what he has to offer, and by no means do I think David Stearns is done adding to this bullpen. All right, so if you have a thought on who you want to see the Mets acquire, let me know. Put it right down there in the comments. Join me live Wednesday night, 6 p.m. for the Wednesday night live show. Everybody, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all right back here with more content from you know where. The Wicker Chair.